the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
There we go then. Good afternoon. Welcome to Scottish Football Zone. Well, a very quiet weekend in Scottish football. Nothing's really been happening. Only been, watching football and, all the rest is history. As I say, final score this afternoon from Easter Road, Hibs 1, Celtic 2. We'll get into that in detail and we'll get into the games, including the bottom half of the table. And I suppose we'll dive into the championship game before we finish as well. Get your comments coming in as always, joined by Ethan and Stephen Hooper. And Stephen is a very happy Kilmarnock fan today. So I thought I would take advantage of you and get you on the show, Stephen.
Thanks very much. Glad to be on. Thanks for the invite.
Big win for Kilmarnock yesterday, as we will go into later on, Stephen. And I was saying to you before we came on air that it's weird because Neil McCann and Dogs has scheduled the shit a wee bit, but the home form is slightly better than the away form.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As I said before there, Michael, to be fair, the season has been a terrible season. In reality, survival is the name of the game at this stage. Has been since the board made an appointment with Kettlewell to start with. I think it's not been great. No due diligence really there for the board's point of view. Terrible terms of were if that was the best in class, if you like, I doubt that personally. But there must have been other runners and riders that would have been a better fit. But it's one of those you get behind the team particularly. So it was a matter of getting behind the manager. But yeah, poor recruitment as well. Some of the standard of players that we brought in, and still unfortunately some of them around the building were poor as well. So it's a combination of factors. But certainly McCann and Dodgy, I know one or two were sceptical when they came in, myself included. But they've actually definitely get confidence in the players. We've been playing well without getting results actually as such the last week. Well, pleasing yesterday to get we seem to have certainly a good sign over Dundee United. Don't think they beat us in quite a time, but they are very strange from their point of view because they've absolutely nothing to play for, so and some of the players made it look like that, to be honest. I think Stryek maybe had 2 saves, but no saves that were worldies or anything as such. So yeah, very pleased with our return. The link play coming on well. Curtis coming in the second half, getting shifted as well, made a big difference for us. And his goal was fantastic, but particularly with Stevie Clark sitting in the stand. I'm sure he enjoyed that a wee bit more. So yeah, good day at the office, as I say, and it's now in our own hands. So we beat St Mirren's fixtures and we will stay up comfortably. So yeah, all good. Looking forward to it.
And as for the top of the table, Ethan, it just keeps getting sight on. And tomorrow, one more game to come at 5:30 tomorrow at Tynecastle. Of course, will be on between Hearts and Rangers. But of course, it finished Hibs 1, Celtic 2. What do you make of the? First of all, what do you make of the Hibs fans applauding Celtic's goal?
Yeah, I thought we might see some of those scenes today, reminiscent of ones of Spurs under Ange Postecoglou, which he obviously wasn't very happy about when Arsenal were going for the league, and they wanted Manchester City to beat Spurs in favour of them winning the league over obviously their rivals Arsenal. And similar scenario here. I think there was still obviously quite a lot of Hibs fans in attendance that wanted Hibs to win. Obviously Falkirk's win over Motherwell, which Falkirk have got an excellent record against Motherwell this season. I think it's 3 wins and a draw. And they've obviously put the pressure on Hibs now for that last European spot and fifth, if it goes down to 5th place, unless Dunfermline were to win the Scottish Cup, in which I think it would only be the top 4 that get European football. And I think it's a bit of a strange one, but you've seen there wasn't a great turnout at Easter Road from the Hibs fans today, maybe because it's a difficult one for them. They don't know whether to support their own team or support in favour of hoping that Celtic or maybe even Rangers will get over the line instead of obviously their great rivals Hearts. And I thought even when Hibs got that goal, controversial or not, at the end of the first half, that the celebrations were a bit muted from the large sections of the fans. I think that the Celtic goals were probably celebrated louder, but obviously to be expected with the circumstances of the match.
What do you make of the Celtic performance overall, Ethan?
Yeah, I thought it was okay in parts. I think it was a little bit better. I think you're seeing that from Celtic, that they're maybe getting better game by game, and by no means are Celtic a great team and going to go on to win the league title convincingly, but they're getting the results over the line. What you will say is this is probably the two most favourable games of the split they've played so far. You look at what Motherwell have done against all three of the title contenders this season, and then of course against the other two direct contenders. Whether Rangers are still in contention come next week, Rangers will obviously still want to beat Celtic regardless of if they're in the race or not, and that last game against Hearts is obviously going to be a massive one. So yeah, I think Celtic will need to improve, and I think what they've struggled with this season is putting teams away. I think that they made the game difficult for themselves today. They could have been, I think, home and hosed, but they weren't, and come the end of the game when Ante Soto has that chance at the end, you think maybe Hibs are going to snatch a point, but obviously it wasn't to be for them, and they grind out the win, which I think probably over the piece they deserved. They had 86% possession or something like that in the first half, obviously helped by that pretty crazy decision from Jamie McGrath to make that tackle, which was, I think they got right with the red card. But yeah, I think the penalty one, not the penalty, sorry, the Hibs goal being awarded was certainly a strange decision, which I think we'll need a conclusive answer to, and we'll probably get one. But yeah, that was a strange decision. I thought that would have been disallowed, but Celtic went on and got the second goal. A massive contribution again from Kelechi and Acion, and you just wonder what Celtic could do with him if he could play more than 20-30 minute cameos off the bench.
And from a Hibs point of view, Stephen, you would say that what's going on with Hibs disciplinary record, because that's 2 games and 3 men getting sent off?
Yeah, you kind of wonder. I suppose you kind of wonder in terms of Hibs and in terms of how much not just the fans, I suppose, as Ethan said there about the fans in terms of the interest. Are they really going to in the next 3 catch Motherwell? I very much doubt it, sort of thing. So again, it's kind of what they're playing for type thing. It's kind of when the split kind of comes into its own, isn't it? Where there should be games where there's something to play for in all the games. But yeah, I think Hibs in the main have actually done okay. And I think ask a lot of Hibs fans, particularly the form that Motherwell were showing at the beginning of the season. They were flying out of traps. I mean, they were title contenders at one point. So I think realism being in it, if they can hang on to 5th, if Falkirk don't catch them, then you think it's still an all right season for them. In a strange sort of way, because it's been one of those seasons that's been kind of like no other, with the other side of the city for their point of view flying, which has given a challenge to the ugly sisters. So it's been, I think, in the main, I think David Gray's done a good job. I think if you look at it over the kind of piece, but yeah, a bit of a strange challenge for McGrath. I don't know what he's doing there. I just rush of blood or whatever, just a bit of a strange one. But I'm sure disciplinary will be getting a bit of a chat in the dressing room afterwards, and Monday morning's meeting will be fun for them. But there you go.
I think you sort of alluded to it there with the Falkirk possibly looking to catch Hibs, and they'll obviously have a great opportunity next Saturday. It's similar to the St Mirren Kilmarnock game in a way, where it is a real 6-pointer for both of those teams try to obviously go above each other. And I think I thought it would have been very ambitious for any of the teams in the bottom 3 of the top half of the split to catch each other. I thought it would just finish Motherwell 4th, Hibs 5th, and Falkirk 6th most likely. But Falkirk have obviously put a little bit of pressure on Hibs with that result yesterday, meaning that Hibs probably do need to go to Falkirk and get some sort of result, whether that be a draw more ideally a win, but obviously David Gray's going to be depleted players-wise with the amount of red cards that they've got. I think it's 4 in the last 3 games now. They obviously got that one against Aberdeen as well, but the thing that I said watching the game was it's not going to be easy for Celtic because Hibs are used to playing like this, playing the man down, and you seen that they didn't make it too easy for Celtic, and Celtic were worked for their goals when they got them in both halves. And I think it's Hibs. I think they said on commentary Hibs' first time losing 2 consecutive home games in the league in a number of years. So it shows how well probably David Gray's done with this Hibs squad. And yeah, it'll be difficult for the supporters to look across the city and see what Hearts are doing. But in any other season, this is a really solid season for Hibs. And as long as they secure 5th place and most likely you would think European football, unless Dunfermline were to cause an all-time upset in the Scottish Cup final, then I think it's a solid season, especially if Hearts obviously don't go on to win the league, because if they were, then whatever Hibs do, it won't really matter.
I think as well, Ethan, that me and you had a kind of debate, you would like to say, debate at the end of the Falkirk game last weekend. I thought Celtic played well in patches in that game. You didn't, but I thought Celtic played well in the first half today. But as we've seen from Celtic since the beginning of the season, Celtic made it hard for Celtic in the second half. A lot of the ball done nothing with it. I think there was a period in the second half where Celtic was trying to walk the ball in the back of the net. I think you could say that for the whole of the season. But I think it's at the point now in the season, and especially at the bottom of the table as well for Kamal Stevens, it doesn't matter how you perform, long as you get the 3 points, and that's what it's all about at the top and at the bottom.
Yeah, we're maybe slightly bucking the trend, and as I said before, with McCann and Dodgy coming in, we are actually playing an attractive style of football. So it's we're slightly behind where Kelly teams have been in the past, where it's win at all costs. There's a bit of flair still about this. There's you can see, you can back to Kenny Shields days where you're actually seeing a bit of play out from the back through the defence into the midfield and up front sort of thing. And there's some good combinations around the park. Greg Kelty's come back to as a little man possessed. He's putting in a shift and then some now. Tish Bowler's come back in as well at the age of 904 for his 94th return to Kelly, a bit like Stuart Finlay. But he's actually, albeit slightly pedestrian, but he's actually making quite a bit of movement in the middle of the park as well. So but we're actually we're not quite winning ugly as such. We are actually, there seems to be a clear definition for McCann and Dodds, and for they came into to how we want to play and the style we want to play. Under Kettlewell, there wasn't a lot of anything as such, to be fair, and that was maybe win ugly. But no, I think we're showing a lot more now. I think we're definitely we've definitely got the tools, and I think we're certainly stronger than St Mirren. Of course, I'm going to say that anyway, but. It's no. I think we bucked the trend to just win the game as such. I think, and I'd like to hope that's going to be a rebuild job for McCann and Dodds in the new season as well, because there's like 14 players out of contract, so there's going to have to be a bit of. They found a couple of jewels, in the January window there with Klinescu and Hugo. Cutlass coming in loan would never have done that under Kettlewell either, because we've obviously got a Rangers connection here for McCann and Dodgy, and obviously we signed an emergency keeper as well due to Kellaroos getting a bit of an injury and training, so therefore he's back to his parent club for the medical side of it. So again, we used that Rangers connection to get the emergency keeper. Hopefully we don't need to use him, because Big Max is back to his best, and that's going to help us definitely in the running as well.
And as for the top of the table, Ethan, it's all about getting 3 points and putting Celtic through, putting Celtic fans sent to A&E in the past couple of weeks. Maybe Martin O'Neill as well.
Yeah, it has been rollercoaster stuff, as it has been throughout the season for Celtic. And but like last week, I think you always thought that Celtic were going to get that goal to win the game. It was a pretty similar game to last week, actually, that Celtic have a lot of the ball, like Hearts at Easter Road. Sorry, I'm comparing the Edinburgh Derby to this game. The touches in the opposition box, I've just looked, they are very, very similar. Obviously, Hibs sitting back, even with 9 men last week. And that's when it feels like there's a lot of passing it and try to pass it into the goal when you've got over 50 touches in the opposition team's box in a game. And it did feel like that for a lot of the game, where Celtic could have just opened up and let fly. But they obviously worked the 2 goals well. Dice Maeda in possession for the first one, a well-worked goal across from Johnston, who was obviously a big return to the starting 11. And then the second goal really well taken from Kelechi Iheanacho, who I think showed his class, but also showed why he's not probably going to start any the next game, because a lot of the time when Celtic looked to play the ball up to him, he wasn't there, a little bit on his heels, lazy in some moments. But you see the class of some of his touches, and obviously takes the goal really well. So yeah, a massive win for Celtic again, like last week, and now they have the opportunity to sit back and enjoy the other 2 teams playing tomorrow, which any result will be beneficial for Celtic in some way. I think the obviously preferred one would probably be both teams dropping points in a draw, but if Rangers were to lose to Hearts, then that's probably them most likely out of the race, and at the same time if Hearts were to lose, then that's Celtic obviously joint top with them, and the goal difference will be narrowed as well. So there's certainly a positive outcome for whatever way this result goes tomorrow. And to be honest, I can't really make a prediction on it, because I just can't see what way it's going to go. It's going to be such a great game, and hopefully it lives up to the billing.
Right, let's get into this handball debate, right? I've been watching football for years, right? And obviously you and Stephen has as well. I've got no idea what is a handball now.
Yeah, I think some of the analysts didn't either, but listening to it anyway. Apart from Chris Boyd, he was quite crystal clear that it was a good goal. But it's a real strange one, isn't it? Hand to ball, t-shirt line. They're going on about all sorts of different things, aren't they? I don't think I've got no dog in the fight as such to say, but I don't think he actually either meant it or gained any sort of advantage actually when you see it in slow motion and whatever else as well, kind of thing. It's one of those. But yes, I'm sure it will be. There's be all sorts of theories going about on social media, etc. But yeah, as you say, Michael, I think it's. I think all season, if you've been at any games, is more frustrating. To be honest, we had 8 minutes of pain last week when VAR get involved. You just, as a supporter in the stadium, you have no idea what's going on. I think on that one as well, if you actually possibly have a look at it, if you're in the stadium, I'm not sure you would actually know what they were checking it for. And that is a real frustration for a normal fan. I just hate VAR in general, and I just think you should be going with the referee on the field, unless it's something glaringly obvious, then they should interfere. But when they're trying to re-referee games, that's ludicrous. But the handball's as clear as mud, and I think everybody's probably gained and lost on it over the course of the season, and I hate the platitudes like it evens itself out over the games. It probably does, as the reality. But I'm sure on such a crucial game, the one half of Glasgow would have been certainly quite excitable about it. But it's certainly better than me. It's just kind of Pythagoras theory as to what they're thinking in that room, wherever they are, in a wee van and Cowcardens or whatever sort of thing, deciding on what way to go. I mean, I think if you watch that Wally column on the VAR review stuff, that's as comical, because he's talking about how they're doing this, that, and the other. And I mean, I watched the incident was talking about for us, and 8 minutes, and he couldn't quite explain as to why it took 8 minutes. It's like. And the decision became they were looking at an offside rather than looking at a penalty. And you're like, I mean, it's just, and it just seemed to be a load of shouting as well, and it doesn't seem to be anything sort of clear. So yeah, good luck with that and dissecting that. I'm sure if you're from one half of Edinburgh, you'll be singing one tune about it, and maybe the other sort of thing. But we all like a bit of controversy, don't we?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Sorry, Michael. I think what you from anyone involved in football, you want that to be a goal, because as Stephen said at the top of his comment, that it doesn't really affect the goal. It hits his arm, but it doesn't really affect the play. He's probably still going to put it away anyway. But what we've been told is the rules, if it hits his arm and the player scores the goal, then it needs to be disallowed. So it looks like it hits his arm. Whether it's above the T-shirt line or not, obviously I think does come into it. But I thought it actually hit his arm twice. But obviously you don't really get too good a view of it. And yeah, I thought it was a strange one that it didn't get disallowed. You look at some of the handballs that get given for penalties in the Champions League during the week, and I know it's refereed differently in that competition, but I think we've just got to do a blanket rule across all competitions and really sort of try and find a way that if it's a clear handball that's affecting the play, it's really outstretched, then yes, but some of the decisions that are given as handballs are ludicrous, and then this not getting given. It's just about consistency is what people will always go back to. And I see someone commenting about the push on Negrin, and I actually did think this one was could have been given as a penalty. It was Josh Campbell when he was shielding the ball out of play, and then before it went out, he shoved Benjamin Negrin off the field. I think it was pretty clumsy, and anywhere else in the field, I think that's probably given as
and then Maiga got a yellow card.
Yeah. I thought that was
and Maiga got a yellow card.
Yeah.
But
fortunately,
I won't keep.
Sorry, Michael. I was just going to say, fortunately, these sort of decisions don't really affect the direct outcome of the game. But if it comes down to goal difference on the final day, Celtic fans will be going back to this and they'll be having their say about it. So, yeah, this will be one that, like Stephen mentioned in that VAR show that Willie Collin does, he'll need to try and explain why the decision was given, because I think most people are pretty confused on
it. I don't know about you guys, but I've got my own views on the Willie Collin VR show on Sky, and I think the word I'm looking for is embarrassing. As well, but I just wanted to come back to a point Stevens made, and I've made this point since VR's been introduced to Scottish football. Now, me, you, and Ethan goes to see Scottish football week in, week out, and other guys on the show goes to watch the games every week. And when you were at that game today, the fans in the stadium don't know what we are looking at on the TV. So like they're actually dependent on phoning their mates in the house or at the pub to say what they're checking, because you guys no got a clue, Stephen, of what they're looking at. And like, I don't know about you, but if you were at the cinema or whatever and you weren't getting kind of, I wouldn't say value for money, you would just like walk out.
Yeah. It's quite bizarre, but again, effectively we've not got the best version of it anyway, aren't we? Because I think Willie Collin's best they could come away with for us was the rugby park pitch, which gets blamed for everything else anyway. Apparently they couldn't draw a line for the offside. The glare off of the Hoover on the lines, they couldn't then make a line. I mean, it's all shades of embarrassing, but it's certainly no value for money, and I don't think any of us know that. I mean, I've got a 15-year-old boy that sits down a couple of rows in front of me, and he generally watches it on Sky. He's watching it and actually telling everybody else behind him as to what they're actually checking. So, as you say, it's pretty embarrassing. But we've not got the best version of it. Even the amount of cameras that we've got on stuff that it's poor, and that's down to the finance, isn't it? But you think when finances are so tight in Scotland, then why would we even have it? Because effectively we can't afford the best version of it. So, should we bother? Should it be maybe the teams that are competing in Europe that are compulsory have got to use it? Because let's face it, in cup games, as we all know, if the two teams agree, then you don't need to have it. And we have played games where we've played and the agreement has been made with the team, and you're watching the game with a different view altogether, because you're thinking this is good, because it's like you can actually celebrate a goal, because you're thinking, the ref's decision is final, the flag goes up with the linesman, that's it, the line is in the sand. But yeah, it's unfortunately, I think it's here for as long as the Premier League are keeping it and the rest of Europe are keeping it, then we're going to have it, aren't we? But it's just poor. I don't think there's any merit in the Willie Collum show thing. I think that, I mean, a lot of the stuff that the presenter boy as well. I mean, it's obviously pre-scripted, and it's like, because a lot of the really contentious ones, they don't tend to go near them. They sometimes leave them altogether. So you're infuriating fans anyway. So yeah, bit strange.
Yeah, I think it would help the fans of, and this is loads of people have pointed this out over time, if at the games, if available, if there's screens that the fans get to see the replays of what the referees are looking at on the screens. And I know maybe that's not, I don't know if all the clubs in the Scottish Premiership have the screens, but I think that would certainly help. The game today, it was initially put up that they were looking at offside, and there didn't look to be any offside in it at all. And of course, they've got to double check these things, and that's why we get times taking 8 minutes and stuff like that. But it was clear as day they were obviously checking to see if it hit Joe Neal's hand. So why they initially put up checking offside is beyond me. So yeah, it's really difficult as a supporter in the ground when you don't know what's going on, you don't know why things are being checked. And I think it would help if you could also hear what the referee's sort of explanation is at the time, and the discussions that they're sort of going through, and that would help you understand, because hearing it back when after it's directly contributed to your team losing a game, it's not really going to help you as much as maybe at the time. You can sort of hear it, and that's not to say that they're not going to get them wrong and you're still going to disagree with them, but I think it would certainly help. But obviously that's going to need to start happening elsewhere probably before I think we sort of go for it in our country. But why not? Why doesn't Scotland pioneer that kind of stuff? But yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen.
And I mean, I don't want to go down a bit of a rabbit hole, Stephen, and talk about VR for the whole time but we're on the show. But let's be honest with you, whether you think it was a penalty or not, VR made that decision. The ref don't get called over to the monitor now. And I think Andrzej Postecoglou made this point when he was the Celtic manager and when VR was kind of like introduced to Scottish football, and the point that he was making was we shouldn't let VR dictate the game. That's why the refs get paid millions of good money to ref a game. Yet that just isn't. It was just two men in his ear saying, "Yeah, it was a goal," as well. But yeah, I mean, I just feel that it would be interesting to find out how many times the ref actually goes over to the monitor, because I feel as though that the VR is there to tell the ref what to do, not like the other way about.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, Ange Postecoglou and it's quite funny him making comments about when he's got would they have £75 million sitting in the bank and more than most. So I'm not really sure he's maybe the most objective. Certainly in his time up here was very successful for Celtic. So I'm not sure he's best placed in terms of comment. But the reality is, the further down you go, unfortunately from our point of view, that's where we sit. Further down you go, it affects your team. And as Ethan said, I mean, there's no all grounds, ours included, that would have the facilities of the screen, but you've got a stadium announcer, so there could always be, you've got trackside advertising where it comes up on there saying VR checking offside decision, or penalty award, or possible red card for foul, whatever that may be. But yeah, the funding in the game is certainly not there up here, is it? It's unless you're one of the big two in reality, then yeah. And we really only hear more about it, let's face it, and Mike Smollett sound like a supporter of a provincial club, but you really only hear about it on big games like today, where they're going for the title, it affects them, so that, they're not talking about Kilmarnock fans sitting for 8 minutes on a stupid decision that eventually the award goes to what the referee gives on the pitch, and our keeper actually saves the penalty anyway. So it was a whole 10 minutes of my life that I could have saved, and been down the road and get my dinner quicker. But them's the breaks. That's maybe just me. But we really only hear about the controversy when the big teams are involved in it. Is kind of my point, and the resources that they have got compared to everybody else. Then it's one of those. I'm sorry if I don't sound sorry for them, but there you go. That's just kind of my view on it, and as I say, I don't think Postecoglou would be the best place to be making much in the way of comments, because he was very successful when he was up here, and I don't remember huge VAR decisions being a thing. Maybe different when he went to England because he had these troubles to seek there, but that's a different. That's to do with his CV, isn't it? But
let's get this rabbit hole, Ethan, and talk about the game as well. I think you could see Hibs fans would be saying, well, are we get disciplinary issues as well? Because obviously a man sent off to get, as I said, at the top of the show. Celtic, it's all about grinding that result out. It doesn't matter how many shots at goal they had and how many throw-ins and how many corner kicks. Celtic keeps on winning, and it puts pressure on Hearts and Rangers tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's the final conclusion to this game. Another win for Celtic, and another step closer to the league title, putting pressure on the other two teams tomorrow. For Hibs, I think certainly some people involved in the football club will be happy with that result today, but at the same time, I think they will now be focused on doing their own work to conclude that they do finish in 5th place and all, well, not all but guarantee, but you would like to think all but guarantee European football, unless, as I said, the former manager pulls off one of the great Scottish Cup upsets in the Scottish Cup final.
His ears must have been burning. Des Roats has joined us on the show to talk about that. Wasn't it a handball at Easter Road? And also, we're going to throw in another few incidents as well. I think Stephen's got a few issues to ask as well. But Des, how are you? Des Roats.
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Yeah,
good.
Not bad.
Good.
Thanks for coming on at short notice. Again, it's another weekend in the Premiership, and another big incident at Easter Road this afternoon. Obviously, me, Stephen, and Ethan should have had over about 10 minutes ago, but I wanted your input, and I know that I spoke to you about it before coming on the show. Hibs got a goal before half time. Des, I'm not really sure about the handball rule now.
Who is? No, nobody's sure of it anymore. I'll give my personal opinion, and this isn't an SFA opinion, obviously not an SFA opinion. I think that was a handball because he gained an advantage and scored the goal from a ball hitting a part of his body that you're not allowed to score a goal from. I think it was handball. I think it should have been disallowed.
Stephen, Ethan, have you got any?
Obviously, I'm not saying I disagree, but I think everybody was just more baffled that it got given rather than not, to be fair.
Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree with that. It's strange. I thought that it would have been given. Would have been ruled out immediately when I seen it. So, yeah, it was a strange one, which, as I said, it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is when they probably give an explanation on Willie Collins' show, the final one, if there is one before the end of the season.
There was two things in it. The first thing was, yes, in my opinion, it should have been disallowed. I don't think it should have been there. But I'm not. The bit I can't get is why it took so long to get there. You don't need that amount of time to have an opinion. And the only mitigating circumstances they will say is it a clear and obvious error. surely if something takes that long, you give it straight away. But to you and I and to the main to the people in the public, we can see it straight away that it's not a handball. Sorry, that it is a handball. It's not a goal. It's just farcical, far too long. And that's going against Don, who, in my opinion, is the best referee that we have in Scotland.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I wanted to get your take on this, Des, and I think that we spoke about it when you were on the show as well, right? So basically, VR's now, like, there's no refs in the middle of the park now, as far as I can see, right? So, like, you've got David Dickinson standing there for about 4 minutes. You've got two guys in his ear, because a lot of people don't know that there's two people in the VR room during the game, right? So my problem with that is the ref's not getting called over at the monitor, right? He's not getting another chance to have a look at it, and he's in charge. And he's in charge of the game.
Yeah, you're entirely correct, Michael, because if you're making a decision which is a game-changing decision, why is he not being pulled across to have his opinion on it? The opinion was made by someone else, not the referee in the middle of the pitch. And the referee in the middle of the pitch is the man in charge, and he was not called over to give his opinion on it.
Yeah. Is that because it's one of those ones that goes down as a factual decision because it's either a handball or not a handball? Is that why he didn't get the chance to go to the monitor?
It shouldn't be that, Ethan. At the end of the day, he's the man in charge. He's the manager.
No, yeah, I agree with that, but he should have been sent to the monitor.
It should have been sent to the monitor. It should have been asked.
Yeah.
Because what's the point?
Put it this way: if you and I are doing the game, and I'm watching on television, and I say to you, Ethan, that's a handball, what's your first thoughts back to me? Can I see it?
Yeah, I want another look at it, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what's the point of the monitor being there then?
Don't know, maybe didn't plug it in this morning.
Yeah. No, but seriously, what's the point of the monitor being there if it's not getting used?
Exactly. And that's why you have a referee, an assistant referee to assist the referee, and you have a VAR, because look at the name, video assistant referee. So the video assistant referee is to assist the referee. You'll come and have a look at it for yourself. That's why it's there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's why it should be there.
Yeah. There was another incident which I think someone in the comments mentioned. I don't know if you've seen it, Des, where Negrin was pushed over by Campbell, Josh Campbell, in the box while Campbell was shielding the ball. I thought it was quite clumsy from him and could have been penalised. Did you see that one? And what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was. Campbell was very, very fortunate. I thought it was a clear and obvious foul. I was quite surprised nothing more was made of it, but I would certainly concur that was very, very close, and I think that could easily have been given as a penalty kick.
Yeah.
Hibs got a man sent off days in the first half. McGrath on Johnson. Red card for you?
Yes. Yeah. So there's no dubiety about that one. Yeah, that was a red card. I don't think there was any malicious intent within it, but you can't tackle there. And I was watching the post-match interview as well, and David Gray, to his credit, doesn't even try to defend it as well. He was perfectly acceptable of it. He probably went to be a bit harsher on McGrath than I thought, and he said he cost us the game. But yeah, it was a red card. I don't think there's any issue with that. I don't think anyone can complain about that.
Any more issues in the game to talk about? Because I know that Stevens get initially talk about the come out game yesterday. Was 8 minutes and then give the game. We'll get on to that in a minute. But just finishing up on the Hibs Celtic game, Ethan, any more incidents to
No, I don't think so. It was just those three, well, the two key incidents, and then the Josh Campbell one on Negrin, which, as they said, wasn't really talked about at the time by even the commentary team. So, but I just thought that anywhere else in the pitch it probably gets given as a foul. But fortunately, both those decisions didn't really affect the direct outcome of the game. But as I said, they might affect the goal difference of the title race possibly come the end of the season if it gets that far.
Okay, let's move on now. I know you're short on time today, Des, and thanks for joining us. But obviously, there was an incident at the Kerry the come out game yesterday, Stephen.
Yeah, well, the Dundee game last week, where I mean that as everybody well knows now, that was checked initially. It was initially checked for a penalty, where Brandon had a slight push in the ground. It didn't look like anything. It looked quite innocuous. Referee, in fairness, gave the decision straight away. Whistled and said it was a penalty. Then ensued the chaos and the nobody knowing what was going on for 8 minutes. 5 of which the referee was actually on the park. Eventually, it was called over to the monitor, which then became farcical after the game. In fairness, that you hear that they couldn't draw a line they were checking an offside, which wasn't the offside either. But they guessed on that one because they couldn't draw a line, allegedly because of the plastic pitch at Rugby Park and the Hoover marks left on the pitch. So therefore, because of the shadows and the glare, they couldn't draw a definitive line. So actually, they guessed on that. They guessed then it wasn't the offside, which were pretty much still all very irrelevant because after the 8 minutes, they still gave the penalty, which Dundee subsequently missed because Keller made a good save. And it didn't affect the game apart from everybody getting out of the game on time as such, because at that point it was 2 each anyway. It was the last kick of the ball. It was not in the 93rd minute when the decision was going to get made. So could have affected the outcome, could have affected us because obviously we were at the wrong end of the table. So that could have been massive had Dundee defeated us. But yeah, just a farcical situation. But again, a whole season worth of farcical situations. I think Kettlewell was at boiling point when Celtic get a very contentious penalty against us in the last minute when Lewis Mayo was allegedly handled it because Robbie Dees was in close proximity to Mayo, and I think the discussion at that point was Kettlewell had said that they had been told by the SFA who'd come into all the clubs that something like that would definitely not be given, and it got given against us and we lost the game subsequently. So yeah, but as I say, I mean, most clubs, I'm sure, it doesn't matter who you support. Most clubs have had something this season, some more than most. But as I said before, we're only highlighting it because it was in a high-profile game at the top end of the table. But yeah, every other club has had something. But it's the guesswork is the more embarrassing thing than anything. They're guessing because they can't draw a line for an offside that wasn't actually what our game was getting checked for initially anyway. But you just scratch your head.
Stephen, you've just killed our podcast for tomorrow.
Sorry, mate. Sorry,
you've absolutely murdered me.
Sorry, guys.
What you mean? Is that a podcast right there, Des? I thought we were on.
Speak as you find as an upset fan. Sorry about that, Des. I'm sorry for this.
Have you looked at my Twitter this morning?
No, I haven't. No. No, it's painful, but there you go.
Yeah. Any more? Yeah, sorry, Des.
No, so I've put it on our Twitter this morning. Someone the FCU podcast. Our thing. It's obviously Steve Conroy, myself, and Scott McPike who we contribute to it. I think that the VAR review that Willie Collins doing just now is actually killing him because he's making ludicrous statements. And I had someone come back to us collectively talking about Hawkeye. Now, Willie says that we don't have inferior or watered down. Now, I call it VAR light. We've got VAR light. But he says that we have the best available technology. Now, if you can't draw lines on AstroTurf, now, is Hawkeye, please, somebody tell me if I'm wrong here, but Hawkeye is the technology used at all the major tennis championships. They balls go over at 100 miles an hour. They balls are 4 or 5 centimeters round, and they can pick that up in an instant and show it on a screen. but we can't pick it up on AstroTurf. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, and because if you're trying to use that excuse, and I know they're going down the lane of not allowing plastic surfaces in the future, and that'll maybe be their backup for this. But I believe they use Hawkeye in the Champions League as well, and they allow plastic pitches and that. You know, look at Bodo Glimt; they have a plastic surface, so. And I don't imagine that the UEFA have had any problems with that. So, yeah, it's not a good look for our game or technology being presented as good as the rest, really.
And as Stephen just said, when you are trying to find that look, it is guesswork, and VAR's not there for guesswork. Refereeing isn't there for guesswork. Refereeing is there for factual evidence, and that's not factual evidence. But who's the one who's perilous to it? It's the fans, but it's the clubs who are paying for it. So the clubs are paying for a substandard version. It's like you and I going to buy a pint of milk. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a pint of milk, but it's only 3/4 full. That's what we've got.
I'm trying to think of any other incidents yesterday, guys, from the games, and not any kind of real incidents that comes to mind. Maybe I'm missing something, Ethan or Stephen, but
can't remember. Can't remember seeing anything that comes to mind.
It was all kind of straightforward, but
saved all of it for today and possibly tomorrow. I'll have to. I haven't caught much of the other games, so I'll have to go back and see them and see if I've seen anything. But yeah, it's been the same story throughout the season, really, and it is disappointing. But as Stephen said, it probably for the most part does balance out. But that's not really what we're looking for, because it would balance out if we didn't have VAR. So the whole point of it is to narrow down or reduce the amount of errors that we're seeing, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. So yeah, disappointing.
Okay, well, let Des go. We might speak to him tomorrow, depending on what's going on at Tynecastle. But thanks for giving us giving up some of your time. And I know that you're at another sporting event today, so good luck with that one. And VR's not involved in that event, so that's good. So you'll have a quiet Sunday afternoon, Des.
Yeah, no problem at all, guys. Hope you're all well, and I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Likewise, Des. See you later.
Take care, guys.
There we go. That was Formula One category left Des Roach joining us on the show for today. And I feel as though we never spoke about the Hibs Celtic game as much, and we spoke about VR, but never mind. We'll touch upon the other games now then. Starting off with the only other top six game on yesterday, Ethan. It was Falkirk 1, Motherwell 0, and you think Falkirk skipped Motherwell's number this season, because Motherwell's not really beat Falkirk this season.
Yeah, other way around. Yeah. I would agree, Michael, that obviously it's a remarkable record that John McGlynn's got against Jens Bertholaskau. 10 points from 12, unbeaten. You look across the league, I think the only other team unbeaten against Motherwell is the league leaders Hearts, and they've won at least twice I can remember. Yes, twice, and then obviously Hearts beat them in the recent one at Tynecastle before they play the last game next week, I believe it is. So yeah, it's an excellent return from John McGlynn, and it just shows how well he's done this season, and probably brings a little bit of joy back to the Falkirk fans after which was obviously a disappointing result against Dunfermline in the Scottish Cup semi-final, but gives them the opportunity now to really chase down Hibs with that game next Saturday especially. And if they were to clinch European football in fifth place, I think that would probably wipe out the disappointment of that semi-final loss. But it's been an excellent season regardless of that, to come up from the the Championship after coming up from League One and to go straight into the top six. And we've seen a few teams do it recently, and it's an exciting trend and possible opportunity for the teams coming up next season. But I think Falkirk have played a really, I know we spoke about it as well. Stephen mentioned that about playing a good brand of football at Kilmarnock, and I think Falkirk have done the same. Of course, at times I think John McGlynn's not afraid to play direct football, but I think he does try to play what you would say a nice style of football. And yeah, I think the Falkirk fans, they obviously supported the club very well at the start of the season with the season ticket sales, and I think they've been rewarded, and they'll be looking to build on it next season. I believe the talks are that they want to add another stand to their stadium. And I remember Alan Risk, I think, was on here saying how John McGlynn was joking to Barney Stewart that he's going to part pay for that once they sell him, because obviously he's been an excellent player this season, and like his manager is obviously up for the awards at the end of the season for Young Player of the Season for Stewart, and obviously Manager of the Season for John McGlynn again, going for it for the third season running.
Yeah, how impressed have you been by Falkirk this season, Stephen?
Sadly upset was the last visit up there. It was the first minute I'd barely got my seat, and it was 1-0. So I think it was 5 we got hit for that day. So lovely track stadium. As Ethan said there, they add another stand onto that. It's a really, really nice stadium, easy enough to get in and out of in terms of commutability as well, sort of thing. I mean, he's done a very, very good job. I think had McInnes done so well in terms of getting Hearts up there, then he should really have been a shout along with the Motherwell manager for manager of the year. McGlynn's definitely got a whole load of journeymen. I think Barney Stewart came from university, whatever sort of things. It's like it's a real host of players that he's managed to get together there and produce some fantastic performances against most teams this year. So yeah, it's been and slightly strange that he's never really been mentioned for bigger and better jobs, McGlynn, because the Aberdeen job you would have thought maybe before they looked elsewhere, you would have thought McGlynn would have been looked at anyway. For, as I say, working with a tight budget, being able to get the best out of players and playing an attractive style of football as well, sort of thing. So they've done very well, and it's always good to see a club of that sort of size with a sort of supporter base, etc. That they can hold their own as such, sort of thing. So yeah, they played very well. Been good to watch, apart from if you're playing against them, obviously.
Yeah, and I see Paul Donaldson commenting on the chat about Aberdeen. We'll get to Aberdeen in a wee bit. A quick word about Motherwell. Were you surprised that Becky Askell wasn't nominated for the manager of the year, guys?
Yeah, a really surprise omission from what he's done. As Stephen mentioned earlier in the show, obviously at one point in this season we really were thinking that Motherwell were going to, people were saying they were in the title race. I know it didn't last very long, but it shows the job he's done to bring them up from a bottom half side last season and the recruitment and what he's done. But as we said, John McGlynn's obviously got the better of him this season, and it begs the question if Jens Bertholascu is getting linked with the Celtic job, then why maybe not John McGlynn? And I know people maybe won't like to hear that as Celtic fans because of his CV maybe not being as impressive and stuff like that. But yeah, both managers have done an excellent job, and I think both of them probably deserve to be nominated. But as you say, Derek McInnes, you can't really look past him, and Gary Naismith was it as well, the other nominee. He's obviously done a solid job at Stenhousemuir, ensuring second place for them after Inverness won the league yesterday. So yeah, I was maybe a little bit surprised with the result yesterday, but as we said, Falkirk have had an excellent record against them this season, and another big result for them, which probably doesn't put any pressure on Motherwell for fourth, but certainly does with Hibs for fifth place.
And then a big win for Kerry yesterday, 3-0 against Dundee United at home. Stephen.
Yeah. As I said before, I think we've got excellent credentials against them. We've done a number on them. Seem to have they just didn't they didn't really lay a glove on us. I can't remember Stryeg having maybe a couple of saves, but nothing really to no worldies to pull out to see them. We got the goals at good times, in fairness, as well. First one was big Robbie Dees for a corner after a lot of good pressing play. Kilty in particular had done well. A corner kicks and swinging in big Robbie Dees, unusually in always head with his foot, putting it in to give us a lead. And I think at that point we were more than value for money for that. I think then up until half time as well, we possibly should have maybe had a second as well, sort of thing. But no, really good first half. As I say, we then come out second half. We looked bang up for it again as well. Made a bit of a change, I think. Plinescu, I don't know whether it was tactical or whether it was more of whether he'd maybe pulled something or whatever, because he has struggled because of his match game time. But to be fair to McCann, when he came in, he did say that he lacked match fitness. So he get pulled sort of just into the second half, and Dom Thompson came on, who certainly not a fan's favourite, would be fair to say. He moved into a position where Finlay Curtis had been and actually pushed him further up. Which actually that change was pretty inspirational, to be fair, because that's where the second goal led from. That was just after half time. So a really good move, and Finlay Curtis finished it very well with Steve Clark watching on in the stand. So I'm sure that done his chances no harm. So yeah, really good finish for him, and kissing the badge, and I'm sure some of the Govan support would not be liking that, but just showing them a wee bit of what they're missing, and certainly a confidence player, so I think he's well in the groove. Some of the running and the interlink play with Big Hugo up front as well is very, very good. Good combinations. Kilty as well. Kilty's been outstanding since he's McCann's come in particularly. He seems to have get a whole new lease of life. And then the third one was a bit comical, to be fair. It was still good pressing from ourselves. However, the young lad at the back for Dundee United, it kind of fluffs a bit of a pass back to the keeper, and he obviously doesn't see Joe Hugo on his shoulder. So Hugo just effectively, the ball's not played with enough pace back to the keeper, and Hugo just nicks in, and thanks very much. That was 3-0 in the game, pretty much over in 70 minutes, So yeah, not a lot more to write home about for there. There's a couple of substitutions made, but again, some of the substitutions, I'm not so sure that they actually just broke the play up. And McGuinness came back off the bench after having been off for a wee while. Rory McKenzie came on as well. Anderson went off, and Polworth came on as well, sort of thing. But yeah, the game was pretty much home and hosed at the kind of 70-minute mark. But fantastic day, great sunshine out, and if you're a Kelly fan, it was just a joy to watch. All of the play that we've actually seen without getting the results of late came to fruition yesterday, and yeah, Dundee United fans were certainly the number. I think they read out, it was about 300 and odd that came down and made the trip. But yeah, they were trickling out. Certainly on the third goal, I think a lot of them left at that point, sort of thing. But yeah, good result, and couple that with the St Mirren result as well, which thanks very much to Dundee and Big Elvis, means that it's pretty much now in our hands. So we were three games to go in the run in. We go to Paisley on Saturday, and we're more than capable of beating them. Our away form's been dreadful this season, but more than capable of taking them on. Then we've got Dundee midweek at home, and then the final one this following Sunday against Livingston. So the Battle of Plastic, but by which point, obviously, as we all know, they get relegated off the back of our result yesterday anyway, sort of thing. So yeah, just depends how many maybe are out of contract, etc. there as to whether they'll even give us a bit of a game. But yeah, pretty confident now that we're with yesterday that we've got it in us.
Yeah, I think you could have possibly anticipated a home win for Kilmarnock based on the home record that we talk about. But if you look at the results last week, obviously Kelly lose with that goal in the opening minute at Batodry, and Dundee United win the derby convincingly at I didn't really see a convincing win for Kilmarnock coming, but shows how much of maybe a fortress they've made Rugby Park this season. And on Finlay Curtis, I think we've seen more of what Neil McCann and Billy Dodds had been saying before they even got the job on the BBC constantly. Obviously, having worked with Curtis at Rangers, he's just got a great attitude, and you see that he sort of facilitates for other players. He does the shift a wee bit further back, and then in the second half allowed to go back into maybe his more natural position, then rewarded with the goal. So yeah, big win for Kilmarnock, and I would say there are no easy games in it, but you look at the last 3 fixtures, all really games you could look at Kilmarnock getting positive results from, which is really probably brings a lot of confidence to not a lot of maybe a lot of confidence to some Kilmarnock fans, but confidence to Stephen and the rest of the Kilmarnock fans that they will be able to steer clear of that 11th spot.
A good one to ask you about Neil McCann and Dogsy when they came in. Obviously, you and the rest of the Kilmarnock fans weren't sure, but are they starting to buy into McCann and Dogs?
Yeah, I think most have turned now. Certainly seen the way they play. Certainly the January window definitely helped with that as well, because bringing Finlay in that deal would never have happened without Dodds and McCann anyway, sort of thing. Clinesco, he'll be a good acquisition. Big Hugo was a fantastic acquisition. Seeing him at close quarters, his work off the ball, his work rate off the ball. You can see, being at Manchester United Academy sort of thing, you can see that he's got his finishing's probably a thing that needs a bit of work. However, having said that, it scored again yesterday as well. So Bruce Anderson's probably a man that's been affected most by Tyrese John Jules going out was a massive blow for us. And Anderson at that point would have been the player that you wanted to kind of step up to the plate. He seemed to be the man that was sort of going to make a difference. But Hugo's been, he's been good. But yeah, I think they've won the fans over just with the positivity. I mean, he's referencing his press conferences after. He does reference that because we have got a good away support, and doesn't matter where we're going, we carry a good away support, albeit we're getting beat most places we're going as such, but the fans are still there, and he's acknowledging that. He's quite personable. He's obviously been in the media, so some of the press conferences are pretty interesting because he's kind of, he knows what's coming before it does. But no, I think the belief in the squad, the players look as if they all want to be here. There's smiles on the faces. There's a good and I think fans are one round. The fans that turn up all the time and go away and all the rest of it are going to turn up because they're fans. But the ones that particularly at home is where, and we've been winning, so therefore at home most of the time. So therefore, I think that's got the fans turned around. So yeah, I think more are and I think most in reality, after. As for my grey locks, I've seen a lot worse times under Kilmarnock anyway. I think some of the young team, it was easy for them to compare against likes of Stevie Clark and Derek McInnes to a point as well. That we had successful times, and so that maybe got the longer memory to think when things go a wee bit bad. But yeah, I think in the long term, a rebuild under McCann and Dodds, which is going to have to be in the summer, could be pretty exciting. But yeah, I think in the main the fans have been won over by the general enthusiasm and the application on the occasion of the players.
And as for Dundee United, Ethan, obviously I think the Dundee United players are on the beach at the moment because they've got nothing left to play for. I think they've secured 7th place. If I'm right there in saying, but I don't
know if maybe they have. No, not quite yet, but they're 6 points clear of Aberdeen with 3 games left. So probably a goal difference, another 3 points would do that. So yeah, not the worst season for Dundee United. I don't think they can expect to be top 6 every season. Obviously, it was a really good campaign last year, getting European football and really doing themselves no harm in that. Obviously taking Rapid Vienna to penalties, I remember, and unfortunately losing at Tannadice. And I think a few Dundee United fans at points in the season wanted Jim Goodwin moved on, but I'm not sure. I think he's done a really solid job. You look at the amount of players that they've turned over, and I know a really disappointing result at the weekend, but I think not the worst season by any means, and something maybe to build on for next season.
Okay, let's move on. Come out 1, and so that means Livingston are relegated. I think it was only a matter of time before Livingston get relegated as well. But however, when the shackles were off, they put in decent performances as well, you would say. And a decent performance by Aberdeen on Friday night. That wasn't enough. Paul Donaldson was at the game. He's an Aberdeen fan. Thanks for watching, Paul. Livingston 2, Aberdeen 2, Ethan. Yeah, I think on Friday night I was expecting not much of a game, but it turned out to be 4 goals in this one.
Yeah, it did. A decent game at that, and more of the same really from Livingston of competing. Certainly under Marvin Bartley, being in the game, but just not doing enough to get those 3 points, and that's ultimately why they're going down. They've just not picked up enough wins across the course of the season. Obviously, got the big win last week, their second of the season. But yeah, there's been too many draws, especially recently. They could have just turned a few of them into wins, then they'd probably still be with a chance right now. But that's not been the case, and unfortunately for everyone at the football club, it is now championship football for them. But I'm a lot more confident on them having a chance to come up than I was last time they went down. I thought they would have really struggled in the championship when they went down a couple of seasons ago, but obviously they bounced straight back up through the playoffs, and I think they'll be in the running for that again next season, because I think Marvin Bartley's shown that he's got the players competing and playing for them, and I think Livingston fans couldn't have expected too much. Credit to Aberdeen though and Stephen Robinson, because a lot of people, including myself, had them as favourites for 11th at a point, and they've started picking up points on a regular basis. Of course, only a point at Livingston doesn't look like the best result on the face of it for Aberdeen, but there was a point where they would take any point, and as a good point for them, especially when St Mirren don't pick up anything. So yeah, I think Aberdeen probably safe now and can look to the sort of rebuild that's going to obviously happen in the summer. I've seen Paul referencing to that, to Yossi Olasanya miss, which was absolutely baffling that he missed that chance. So yeah, a decent point for Aberdeen, not great, and obviously an inconsequential point you would say now for Livingston.
I don't know if you would agree, Paul, in the chat, because you see more of Aberdeen than us three here, Stephen. But for Aberdeen being in the top, sort of being in the bottom 6 for the past 2 seasons, apart from last season, they made the top 6, and obviously went on to win the Scottish Cup. But I think Aberdeen fans would be still a bit annoyed, because Aberdeen's one of these kind of like sleeping giants, one town city, one club city, and all the rest of it. Big fan base, big in win the European Cup and all that. And now, it's been a mad season for Aberdeen.
Yeah, I think in reality, some sort of parallels with our situation in terms of they get rid of Jimmy Killeen for whatever reason. Obviously fans will be better placed than myself for that one. But the parallel I was going to draw was that effectively they do the same as us. They wait far too long to then reappoint. Stephen Robinson's under their nose. John McGlynn was under their nose. There are various candidates, Neil McCann, there are various candidates that were under their nose that they could have appointed a lot quicker. Would they then have been in any I'm not so sure they were in any sort of bother. Yeah, they dropped into the bottom 6. Maybe a couple of results went the wrong way. Then it could have been worse. Been interesting to see, because I've always quite liked. I would have actually liked to see Stevie Robinson at Rugby Park, to be fair. Because I think he talks well about the game. He seems to get the most out of no average players, but players that maybe other clubs wouldn't take. But yeah, I think for the giddy heights that they've been at, Aberdeen fans are probably upset with this season. But reality is for where they were to where they're going to end up finishing. Then it's one of those. And again, another rebuild job for them for next season. But yeah, it's all all to play for in terms of be interesting, just as Ethan was saying about Livingston there as well. Be quite interested to see if they stick behind Marvin, because I've got to say I think they have picked up quite a bit, and obviously we looked at it a wee bit closer. They've picked up pretty well in terms of since he's came in. Should they have maybe looked at Martindale going upstairs quicker? Could that have been enough for them to be safe? You're never going to know that, are you? But it'll be interesting to see if they certainly, first of all, stay with Marvin, and then what kind of rebuild job they do to then look at trying to bounce back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just looking at it. Livingston have only lost once, twice of the last, 10 games, I think, maybe 3 times in the last 10 games, which were where they were is a lot better. And if you turn that to just a few of those results, those draws into wins, and I know that's a big if, then it looks a lot better on the face of it. I think looking at the performances, they have been a lot better under Marvin Bartley. So I would say, and I imagine most of the Livingston fans are probably the same, that have had to watch them all season under David Martindale, that stick with Marvin Bartley until a point is which it doesn't look like the performances are better. So yeah, I think you give the chance to Marvin Bartley, who's been a great servant to Livingston as an assistant, as a coach, and obviously previously as a player in the past as well. I think you give him the chance to rebuild the squad over the summer heading into that championship campaign.
I was just thinking, guys, as well, before we move on to the last game, it's a weird old season because if you think of it, Aberdeen won the cup last season, St Mirren won the cup this season. They both have very, very poor seasons.
Yeah, that's been it. It's been sacrificing a solid league campaign for winning a trophy, and ultimately, I don't think too many supporters will remember where they finished in those seasons in the league. So yeah, it'll all be remembered for the cup triumphs.
And Paul was just saying both Livingston goals were totally avoidable as well. But yeah, and Paul was saying earlier on as well, I wish the season came to an end maybe 2 weeks ago instead of a few games to go, but never mind. But yeah, I think Stephen Robertson will do a good job. I still think the timing was a bit weird how he left St Mirren, but as we know, guys, money talks, and I can't say the other bit to that saying as well. But I think you know where I'm going with that one. So the last game to talk about yesterday, and Stephen would be delighted with this score. Dundee 1, St Mirren 0, and St Mirren's right in trouble now.
Yeah, obviously you're not going to get much in the way of empathy for me. I'm quite happy on that one. Dundee, having watched the highlights, decent goal, and there was certainly a bit of pressure for St Mirren in terms of in the game. But yeah, Dundee again under Presley have actually picked up nicely. He's kind of went under the radar really. Presley again, they were ones where at one point they looked as if they may get drawn into it, but they just seem to have a knack at sort of picking up the odd result sort of thing. But yeah, I was obviously because our game was kind of was not quite a formality, but for long periods I was actually studying my phone rather than I was watching our game with as much interest, to be honest, because you were hoping that things would stay the same at Dens Park. But yeah, I think Big Elvis in particular has done a good job there. For St Mirren point of view, then they seem to be at the wrong time, going the wrong way. But as I say, no real sympathy from my point of view, and I'm quite happy that it's now in our hands and we can go there on Saturday and inflict further damage.
Ethan?
Yeah, I think it's really worrying now for St Mirren, and they had a few promising performances to start Craig McLeish's tenure since coming in, and he obviously has his way of playing, but we speak about teams wanting the way to play, but it might just be the case of St Mirren playing any way they can to get points over the line, because that's what they need. It's going to be a really exciting game next weekend when obviously Kilmarnock head to Paisley, because as Stephen said, Kilmarnock's away record, as we've all actually said, Kilmarnock's away record not great, but St Mirren not great in general. So it's going to be a really interesting game, a difficult one to call. And whoever, if any team is to win that match, you'd probably say that they're favourites to avoid the drop entirely.
I think the Scottish Cup is at the end of the final. Celtic and Dunfermline, but I think that the game next week at St Mirren Park between St Mirren and Kilmarnock, Stephen, is a cup final in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Take some of that. Effectively 3 cup finals left, but two of them are away from home, so therefore our away form has got to pick up for us to stay up effectively, So, I would certainly be fairly confident that we can get the job done and get over the line. That's what it's all about now.
Yeah, and I was saying to you guys as well, that would be one of the games I would want to be on the TV that next week, because it's such an interesting game. Right, let's jump into the championship game championship games even before we head off, and all the teams are all the teams, but a few teams are away on holiday because they're Friday night games were at the end of the season. Let's run through them. Stephen will be happy with this result. Ayr United 0, St Johnstone 1, Dunfermline 0, Arbroath 0, Morton 1, Airdrie 1, Packet Thistle 1, Queen's Park 1, and Great Rovers 3, Ross County 2. I must admit that game was the most entertaining game between the Morton game and the Raith Rovers game, Stephen. But I suppose it's all about a bit of banter now. But I don't know if you saw the video of the Raith Rovers fans at the end of the game shouting to the Ross County players, "You're going down," and that's why there was a bit of a fight at the end of the game.
Yeah, I think passing interest in that one, obviously, with the management team for County, and one of the scorers being Big Innes Cameron, who enjoyed the occasion. So yeah, I had a wee bit of an interest on that, purely for a kind of selfish point of view. But yeah, it was it's fun and games ensued. But yeah, it's certainly. Ayr United getting beat's always good. It doesn't matter what way you look at it. It's definitely the result to be looking for from an Ayrshire point of view. So yeah, always good. But yeah, no, that was quite big. I say Big Innes who can finish at times. Seemed to enjoy his moment.
What's been on, Ethan, at Ross County, because that's back-to-back relegations they've had. By the way, it's not because I've put the curse in it, because Stephen Ferguson's been on the show a few times. We spoke to him before the Queen's Park game as well, and I think there was a bit of a fight at the end of that game as well, but I think it was more frustration than anything. What's been on at Ross County, Ethan? It's back to back.
I really don't know what's happened at Ross County. They obviously, I think, still have one of the greatest budgets in the league. invested a lot in the summer, but the recruitment just seems to be all wrong, or was all wrong, evidently, by the fact that they finished bottom of the league. And yeah, crazy back-to-back for a team to go down from the Premiership to the Championship and then to go down again, and maybe just shows how difficult a league the Scottish Championship actually is, and it's not always guaranteed that the teams that go down from the Premiership are going to bounce right back up. So yeah, credit to Airdrie, who avoid the automatic drop. They still need to obviously play that playoff game, and Great Morton as well, who were obviously had a chance of going down on the last day as well. And Ayr United only 3 points clear of the relegation playoff in the end. Shows the demise I think they've had towards the end of Scott Brown's tenure and since then. And then obviously St Johnstone, we already knew were the title winners and would be getting promoted, win the league by 11 points in the end, which is probably what people thought they were going to win it by towards the start of the season when they absolutely flew out the gates. Credit to Mark Wilson and his staff for even making it a race with Partick Thistle, and they'll be a really interesting team to watch in the playoffs, along with Coast-Dunfermline, who have still got a Scottish Cup final to play as well. And don't count Arbroath out, I would say, although they would be my third favourites to advance from the playoffs if I had to choose one. So yeah, probably an exciting day in the Championship from the relegation point of view, but not really the playoff or title scenario, which may be the case, and is the same in the Premiership if Stevens Kilmarnock are to beat St Mirren next week.
There you go, guys. That's us. Quick word. We'll be back tomorrow, but quick word on the game tomorrow, Stephen. Hearts and Rangers. I know you're not getting a kind of dog or horse or whatever they say in the race, but what are you expecting from the game?
Yeah, well, I suppose obviously after today, then if both teams know what they need to do. So from my point of view, Rangers, it would make it still something on it, wouldn't it? You know, it would extend the season if Rangers manage even to nick a draw for Hearts sort of thing. You probably got to fancy Hearts. It pains me to say it, with obviously the management team in place, but I think it's theirs to lose, isn't it? In reality. So it'd be an interesting one, because I still think there might be the odd twist or turn left in it. And from a Scottish football fans' point of view, then they obviously would like Hearts to win, to upset the two Glasgow teams. But it should be pretty interesting. Just got to hope that it's not one of these games that gets massively built up and then is a nothing game, you know. But yeah, I'm not normally fussed, but if Mr. McInnes were to be sent off for something in the sidelines, then that wouldn't particularly fuss me either.
Yeah, what I've found out throughout the season is that loads of clubs have had reasons to, at the start of the season, it was the case of Hearts winning the league would be great for Scottish football, but every club seems to have their own little narrative as to why they don't want Hearts to win the league. Obviously, Celtic and Rangers, pretty straightforward. Hibs the same. Kilmarnock next. Obviously, Derek McInnes, the way probably left more than anything else. And even like Aberdeen, I think I've seen some of their fans not wanting Hearts to win the league, because does it maybe move Hearts above Aberdeen in the sort of pecking order of the biggest clubs in Scottish football and stuff like that. So, they're really interesting. But as I said earlier, I really can't call it. I think it'll be a really interesting game that could go either way. I think Rangers need a result a lot more than Hearts do, though. I think a point for Hearts wouldn't be too bad of one. Of course, at home they'll want to win that game, but I think if Rangers were to draw, then it is probably a long way back for them, but would just about keep them in it. If Hearts were to win, then I would have to say Rangers are out of it, but that's not going to stop them wanting to go to Celtic Park and take Celtic out of it the following week. So some big twists to come. With obviously they two teams to play, Celtic to play, both of them also, and Celtic and Hearts both still to play Motherwell, who've caused a few shocks. Well, not shocks, you would say, but bumps in the road for the title contenders. So yeah, it really still could go either way, and it'll be a great game tomorrow, hopefully.
There you go. So the weekend's not finished yet. Well, if you're off, it's not because it's the bank holiday tomorrow. It's Hearts against Rangers, and we'll be here on the Scottish Football Zone as well. So that's to Stephen, that's to Ethan, and that's to Des Roach. He actually gets sent off. That's why he's still not on the show. I went to VAR as well. So thanks to Des, thanks to everybody. It's commented on the show, and we'll do it again tomorrow for the big game in the capital between Hearts and Rangers.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.